Yeah, so I'm not gonna be able to... I'm thinking like there are so many things that you could think about and that you can come up with things about and do stuff. I hate this you have to keep producing and coming up with stuff, and a lot of stuff is so mundane and redundant, and just like you can't have everyone be in a store as an employee. You can't have everyone be like in a food supply chain, and all the basic things are important, but then on top of that comes the people that then try to innovate or try to do new stuff, and then it becomes a value judgment question. What is important? What is not? What should one focus on, and what should one not focus on? That is the question. And it's a very hard one. And an annoying one at that, maybe. Probably. Very much. Very likely. Very much. Is this weird question that I'm having currently is like, I feel material sciences might be possible, but what am I saying is important. I'm slightly tired, so I don't feel like I have to talk, but I've been training myself to talk quite extensively, and I'm not going to give up on that at all, especially not today. I'm trying to become coherent and have a lot of thoughts. I don't know, I should probably learn more quantum physics. I'm doing a lot of uploading of cuts of things that I've done before. I'm coding. Coding is important. I want to do the autonomous content gun. It's going to come out unless I am led astray by whatever. And how far do you really need that? It exists in some forms with like an overall overarching thing where like you have like some supercomputer or a multitude of supercomputers figure out evolutionary designs. So basically that it is fed data of you know, just the evolution of pretty much anything, and that you then have it come up with design and let it predict what design based. But this would become very complicated, because then you would have need data about people, and then churn that in with contextual data, like for example, you want to design a shoe, and you combine that with all the things that those specific people would have ever liked, and then create another. But then again, it becomes so redundant. Do people need new shoes, like new shoe designs? It's something that works and that is a thing, but then I'm not really anymore into like mundane things. Not that there couldn't be some technological advance. You never know where things might come from, but I feel like material sciences should be a pretty big one. I think electronics, I don't know, superconductivity, supersymmetry, vector spaces. I am going to make Pycology for Python. Take a NeuraTrip into PsyberSpace. Multidimensional Hilbert space base wave vectors into quantum consciousness. 5-MeO quantum consciousness. the entirety of everything. And there's a quantum cosmology. So small, tiny, and then the bigger picture. And then of course you can have the small tiny part and then the bigger picture, but that doesn't explain evolution. You're like the small parts make up the bigger parts, or the bigger part is made up of the small parts, and the small parts materialize into evolutionary processes that have never happened before. So history is important, but you don't necessarily, you can predict the future with technically you would be able to, given that everything is like one thing interacting with another system and then building on top of each other quantum mechanically until it is no longer quantum mechanically and results into the Newtonian real world. But then the question becomes, and then you can deduce new things that then evolve, because we are evolution, and we are then creating the new world, the evolution, the time, just the future. But there's so many variables that, you know, you can't, it would be impossible to put a camera on every single last particle that exists, because those cameras would be made up of particles, and then those cameras need to be filmed every last part, and then those cameras that are on top of, so you can't know everything, and so there's always going to be a probability or an uncertainty. Uncertainty is the only constant. No, time is a constant. Uncertainty is a constant. Probability is a constant. Matter is not a constant. Light apparently is a constant, but it's not a constant when there's no light. So if there were no light, it wouldn't be a constant, but there would still be time. You can't take away time unless, well, no, because once you start to have thoughts about time, you're thinking in time, so the time is always there, and uncertainty is always there. Because even if you're in an empty vacuum, you'll always be uncertain about where you are, of what you are, or if anything is anything. And then I wonder if you're in an empty vacuum that you'd, well, that is possible with a flotation tank, isn't it? Like that you start to hallucinate because your mind is wired to interpret the world at any point in time. It's a meditative state, so you'll if once you lose sense of your body, your imagination will become more prominent, and you'll basically be living in your hands along with your thoughts, and therefore at least as far as I've seen, I've never done that before myself. Maybe I should. The question becomes, does that matter? What does matter? What is like the next stage? What could I be doing? I want to code, probably should. Probably coding website. I don't know. I feel it's so done. I think websites are going to very much be standardized. They're already kind of standardized, but I believe, I don't know. Are they in a browser? One web, one. It's not just separate parts that basically all do the same thing in a different package. I feel like there's a platform missing. I know I have ideas about platforms that could be possible that would be advantages, which I would not state. I know my ideas get stolen quite a bit, and I'm currently not getting, I'm getting thoroughly underfunded, very much underfunded. I need like a lot of funds. I have things coming up tomorrow. I almost forgot. Oh my god. Innovation. Data structures. It's difficult to think. Yeah, tomorrow 11 a.m. 1 p.m. info. There has to be a next thing that results from the previous thing into the new thing. There's parties out there. Like, what do people do really, like, at all? Make stuff that becomes stuff, that is sold, that is ideas, that is the creation, the invention, one thing building on top of the next, and then propagating and creating whatever is new. I've been researching how much people actually code. Not much. I don't think there are many people out there that know how to code, know quantum mechanics, know how to design, develop, produce, do 3D, engineer. I know about electronics, electronic devices. I might, of course, of all those subjects, there are fields that I don't know everything about, but I do feel like I can bring everything together, but I'm severely underfunded. And I want to create and make something new, but I am stuck in the digital space, and I want to get out of the digital space. I want to go back into the real world. I want a hangar with like 10,000 square meters of floors and machines, like really I want machines, cables, electrical wires, brains, hard drives, CPUs, GPUs, walls, art designers, coders, engineers, rockets? I don't know. I don't want to be Elon Musky. But you know, at the end, like, what else is there apart from shooting shit out into space these days? Anymore? Nothing really. Which is something I've noticed. Save incremental 1.0 file. Is there no like incremental save? Fucking annoying. I'm already getting annoyed about coding. And I'm mainly getting annoyed with coding. Well, but yeah, because I'm just coding. I don't do much coding, but I'm just coding, and it's like it's so easy. because I know what I'm doing and I know what the purpose is of me coding. So it's not that hard to figure out what it is that I want to do. And when I am coding, I am automating the entirety of it. And it seems to be going just fine. What I would like to do is create I'm doing autonomous content generation with the guns, and I need training data. But if I look at OpenAI and like them training their data on a, you know, petaflop supercomputers, I don't think I have that capacity to do that on a do like 120,000 years of work on a computer. Like, I don't have the time. So I would definitely love to see some change and some funding and some Kickstarter maybe. But I feel like I am not good at convincing people about anything. I lack some things, I don't know. I think so. I've done a lot of stuff. I think my concept is like, no matter if I am doing something or not, my stuff is growing and is growing and is growing, and I feel like I am in a cycle of momentum. There's definitely a momentum there. But I have no idea. I really don't actually know what I'm doing. Like I've done so much stuff, and yet I don't know what I'm doing. And even then, despite a lot of crap, I just want to complain. I really want to bitch and complain about all the stuff that people have done to me over the years. The bad parts, they were really bad. And often bad people tend to pretend like that the people that you know, which is of course a perspective thing, but like there's this thing where bad people always play the victim of while they are doing their bad deeds, because once the person who is playing the victim first is the one that is seen as the victim, rather than or the makes the first claim. It's like you can't like no if you have to then go into the dispute of you're doing this to me or whatever. I also see this with like the anti. It's usually people are not necessarily like very anti-drugs, but I don't do much drugs myself, but like I can see when I see people, they have like they're against that thing, and they realize that the thing that they are against isn't as bad as they think it is. They work it in hand, and they have this psychological trigger where they were wrong about something and they have taken a stance, and then I don't think it's necessarily like as a malicious thing that they or as a thing they do because they believe they do it because they believe they're doing right, or they figure out that that thing isn't exactly the way they thought it was, and then it creates a cognitive dissonance where it's like people, if they have done something wrong, they can't, if like then it's like a matter of, oh no, I have done something wrong, I'll get punished, which then creates this cycle of things that aren't really. There's so many things that you know, you can tell that, like I need to give an example maybe. Like, let's say that eggs are bad, and a whole group in society becomes convinced that eggs are bad, and they persecute and slaughter and do a whole bunch of things to people because eggs are bad. And then they look at those people and and it's like, oh, look at those people, because they thought eggs weren't bad and they ate eggs. Now they're lying, and it's because of the eggs. But they are not conscious of the fact, or maybe even are politically inclined to keep pretending that it is the egg that's doing that thing rather than them doing it themselves, or causing it in some way or another. That those people are in the place that they are at, not because they are actually having the people in question are actually they equate it. Is maybe I'm being too concrete in my or direct, talking about direct correlations, like they do something which then causes those people to be harmed, and then they point a finger. It's sometimes even a lot more subtler than that. It's like I don't think you can have biases. I don't think stereotypes are necessarily bad, but it does seem to be like, if people don't fit the stereotype that they preconceive something to be, like all those people who eat eggs, they are all broke, and they'll not live very long, and they'll do anything in their might to put those people in that place, so they are like the thing that they because once they step outside of their box, it doesn't make sense to them, and so they need to keep seeing those people in that box, because if they're not in the box, then the world doesn't make sense of anymore. Which you can tell, it's like a historical thing. You can tell that's why a lot of religious persecutions happen. That's why a lot of really bad things throughout history happen, is because some group of people just ends up in this trance where they think they've found this new. It's again what I just said, like bad people tend to think that they're doing good, like religious people who kill other religious people or non-religious people because of they're saving the world, they're saving humanity, or they're doing this or they're doing that, and you see that thing over and over and over again. And sometimes it is knowingly and sometimes it is unknowingly. And one of the problems that I'm having is that I am way too... I think too much, and I think from way too many perspectives, and I'm constantly weighing all the different perspectives of other people, while those people who are in those positions do not do the same. And there is a lot more power into actually just unashamedly keep hammering on the opinion that they have, because not very bright people tend to not understand nuance, and they are easily radicalized when they are in this. It is also like something that I'm observing. Manipulators tends to, I know they tend to, I think a great manipulation is triggered or done when the specific people in question. How do you do it? It's like there's this thing, like you start with a premise and you kind of broadcast the premise, and because you broadcast the premise, you're diverting the attention, and when they're diverting the attention, it's like I'm trying to find an example. Like they're espousing like, this is a problem, this is a problem, this is a problem, this is a problem, in order to distract you from another problem. That's kind of like the way I would look at it. And then before you know it, you're like in this situation you never wanted to be in, or there's so many variables that go into anything that it becomes like so complex. Like you have to study math and quantum mechanics and probability theories and game theory, because there's so many different players and the internet itself. I don't play games anymore, but the internet has become the game. Like I'm going to make an AI system, an autonomous system, whatever system, a system that can crawl, and that can, I would like, it's a far way, part away. I would like to be able to fill in the forms on any website. There's probably going to be common descriptors or things that are very common. I know already that a lot of those things are going to be pretty similar, that I'm going to then so that it's done auto filled in, and then you know, create feedback loops, pulling data, and creating this game of beating the internet, but like in a non-intrusive way. Like usually people use bots, and then you get like a gazillion. I get so many like friend requests of just hey, WhatsApp, whatever, just annoying spam. Like, why do those people do those things? Like, why are you creating bots for something as purposeless and stupid as like scamming people? Why you create a GAN, like, or a content GAN that just pulls data and then creates useful data that is not like intrusive and just keeps itself into the bounds of what it can be done in a certain sense. Like within, like if I make I don't think if I like make a get a supercomputer and of like $50 million or something like that, and then create like a thing that can auto-generate YouTube channels, which I don't think should be a restriction on, but then it creates YouTube channels, of course, and then it has like the 15 uploads that it can do, but you don't spam it with like necessarily 15 videos every day. You just make sure that the quality is okay, and how better you can get the quality, the more videos you let it upload until it reaches the limits, and then you create you have it divert into different channels that then are like all these different channels that all have like different functions, do different things, and are just geared towards something else or something different. I don't know. Okay, I have just saved my screen. Everything seems to be fine. I'm recording pretty well. Yes, okay. Another part. What is then? Yeah, I create content, a module, math, so t equals time, I keep thinking t equals time. I keep saying and thinking t equals time. So there's time, and you need to speed things up through time, create motion, create movement, create conceptual thinking, conceptual visual thinking, quantum cosmological visual phys engineering. But I'm trying to I'm just coming up with stuff the idea is the point, not a, and I want to keep thinking on top of it, like what else is that engineering? Is that then like the visualization of the entirety of the whole, or like how it is then going to progress? And is there like an algorithm to create the evolution of a system? Because the evolution of a system is dependent on a lot of variables, and it's especially dependent on other systems that build parts of the system. Like for example, if you see a house as a system or a part of a greater fractal, if you see, you know, that is actually what technically what that is. It's like, I don't think humans are no different from the collision of an asteroid on Earth, meaning we are made up of atoms that are formed into being because of a whole cluster of things. And like, for example, if you'd say that if I'm partly robot, the only thing that then happened is that this symbiosis between me and this metal thing is just a part of the fractal. This whole cluster of the universe, of all of matter that has condensed, has formed life and being. And then, because it all formed life and being, it then is it's hard to, I want to explain it so a normal person can understand. Like if you have rock, you have sediment, you have the archaeology, just nothing. There's only water and elements that the floor, like like there is no floor in nature, but like the sand, the ground, the dirt, the grass, the grass is of course already a living thing, so it's like which then again is like, it's a fractalization of something that has formed through evolution, quantum evolutionary pressures, that it has all these particles, the electrons, the waves, the photons, the boson, the whatever, muon, nuons, dark matter, dark energy, all the constituents of the entirety of the mesons, the bosons, the nuons, all the elements comprise the universe and build and create it. And then the interaction between all those particles and all the waves, and then start to materialize into, for example, a piece of sand. And actually that piece of sand is like a piece of your bone, because if you die, you become the dirt, you become the sand. So there's no difference between your bone and the sand. You are like part of this greater whole. You're part of the entirety quantum cosmological evolution. You're inherently ingrained into the dirt. You're part of the earth. You have risen from the earth, which is a weird thing to say because you actually don't. It is, at some point we all have risen from the dirt, but I of course come out of a human being, and out of two human beings, and there's like a lineage of those people. There's like copies, like arrays that are every time slightly different. It's like, it's extremely psychedelic in its conception. It's like very evolutionary, fractally. And then of course we take from the environment and we eat, and the food is the one thing that is actually in some way still coming from the dirt. It's like comes from a tree that pulls it and harnesses its nutrients from the ground, and then because it comes from the ground, it then falls, or you're pick the apple, or some animal eats it, that you then eat the animal, and then it's like this whole eco chain, this whole chain of reactions that make up you as a thing. And you are just a fractal. You're just a fractal. You're a fractal in every possible sense of the word. I don't know, would I want it to be like this? Probably. Okay, cool. There's a fractal here. I am going to take a screenshot with this guy. Looks pretty cool. Oh god, I have my eyes closed. Oh my god, it's like meets change that I took the... Oh, cool. Yeah, you're probably seeing it right now. 77, lucky number 7. Oh, maybe not. No, I'm gonna go back to where I was. Where was I? Yeah, oh, so it's everything is comprised of everything else. And then in which way, where, in which part do I become conscious? And in... how does that work? Awareness. People. There's just so many thoughts. And you know, people, it's especially people that interest me, and that is so fascinating to me because it's so weird, because we invent things that are absolute nonsense. That are nonsense. We make up marriage, we make up like nonsense that doesn't have anything to do anymore with nature or with survival, and then we make up things that just kind of... and why do those specific things come into being? Why do those specific things, those things that some people would probably get offended by because they don't like to think or think about anything really, like theater. Why do we do theater? Like, of course it's a transmission of information. You can make up things about it, but then, or like conventions or traditions or like meaningless words that then for some reason have a meaning because you know what it implies, but it in nature doesn't have any meaning, like tradition or culture or whatever. It's all, that's all, it doesn't really exist. What does culture actually constitute? It's like, culture is like something that at some point someone's like, oh, this is a culture. Like that's all that is. That's like people live in the desert and they start building their buildings a certain way, mainly because of the circumstances, the materials they have, the type of rain they have, the environment they have, and then someone is like, oh, the people there usually build it like that, and then people in a different part, they build it things differently because their climate and their environment is different. But then that is like the culture. No, it's like just the set of their environment has lent that to them, and then we start to like make up nonsense that to try to rationalize why certain, because we don't have a full understanding of some other person or some other thing in general. We don't, because we don't know why something is happened or has happened or is the way it is. We then come up with things that then become into relation with who we are, and then because of the relation who we are and who they are, we then create this weird structure that we then have to be like this thing, and that thing becomes then something different and molds and transforms, and really everyone is just there doing some type of like playing some game in every different you can see it in every substructure. It's like, I think you have to kind of think like a concept artist. That's I've heard this before, but like you have to see through the forms, or you have to see the forms through the subject matter, is how you become an artist. It's this, the forms, like the square that I have here, and those lines, and those, like there's like this is Renaissance-y because of the shapes, the white, the gold thingy, and just a specific bunch of circumstances, and because I'm white, and that's probably going to accentuate it. There's like all these, both, you can't, and it's an educated part, because some people start to call something, and then therefore that becomes ingrained into your memory. But the concept in it, the word or the concept in and of itself doesn't really exist. And then what I was saying with the you have to see behind it. If I'd change the colors of all the things that are in here and bend the shapes a little, even though not much has actually changed, you can create something entirely different. If I wipe the mat out and I would write down, like, it's just lines, there's not some, there's a whole lot of things that I can draw, put on here, but if I'd start writing down stuff about cooking here, it would be something, it would and I would be sitting here talking about cooking, even though everything, even though the forms, like the squares that it is made up of, you can change the whiteboard. You can change the whiteboard with, for example, a piece of cardboard. The form is the same, but the subject has changed. And if I write on that cardboard, or a piece of stone, or a piece of gold, or a piece of metal, or a blackboard, or crayons, or like you can change the underlying thing is the same. It's a rectangle with stuff on it, and the materials that it makes up of, and the the what is written on there contextually changes what is actually there, or the perception, your perceptual idea of what is there. It changes the entirety. You can change everything and anything into anything if you just, it's going from this to cardboard is going from white to brown, is going from shiny to less shiny with a tiny bit of grain on top of it. That's the only thing that changes. And it's like you have to see this underlying thing that you are perceptually making judgments on those things based on your education, based on your previous knowledge, based on your understanding of the subject, based on, and even then just on your state and your previous history is going to create a different judgment, and you are going to judge it very differently than someone else. If I would have seen me the way I am right now 5, 6, 7 years ago, I would probably, I do come from a school where math and so was taught, and but some of the, like Python wasn't a thing then, or it was a thing, but I didn't know it was I didn't know it was a thing. So if I would look at this, I would not be understanding psychology for Python. If I like, let's say 10 years or whatever, or if whatever, like I would have probably looked away at a lot of mathematical stuff. Or when I was starting out with quantum mechanics, I didn't know quantum mechanics. You learn those things, and you move on, and your capacity to understand something changes. But then if someone, like, there's just no ability to fully grasp. And I'm making waves and sound waves, and it's all contextual within a certain time frame. My time frame that I'm living in right now, the people who might be watching or would watch, or nobody is watching, but like it's all in a certain context, trying to communicate something within my reasoning, from my evolution, from my thoughts, from my psychology, from the entirety of my experience and knowledge and everything else, that brings it into this part that is then this. And there's so many things that led up to this that is so magnificent, and I wonder then, where does this all lead to? And what is, you're always moving into the unknown, into chaos forwards. I have 50 more years to live, and I feel like I want to learn even more and move forward and do stuff, and then create stuff and new stuff and evolve, evolution. Everything is too tiny, and it's like this thing in the past, you would have had this mystery because the entire world wasn't really known the way it is today. Not every part of our world is recorded, but like there's like so many satellites, and we know that the Earth is round, and we don't, there's not this like 15th century discovery of America type of thing going on. Maybe we find a planet that we can live on or explore where there's life, but that would rebring that mystery. But it's currently not there, pretty implausible for now. It will come at some point, but then the question is, like, how I think we are evolved to explore that sense and that mystery and going into the unknown, and we are hardwired to that's what we do as human beings. We go out and we explore and we do all these different things, and we want to see all these different parts of the world and find new things. But the world, it's like the more people and we all know what is there, the lesser there is. But then again, people keep coming up with new things, so I know that there is going to be new things that are going to come up. But when are they going to come up? And it becomes this ever evolving. I know every day that passes is another day of thinking. It's another day of thinking thoughts about things, and the next part and the next part and the next part. There's so much thinking, and there's never really an end to it, and there's always this new thing. But there's also really mundane information that nobody cares about, like nobody sanely cares about, like celebrity, like, oh my god. I think they should really ban like the news in your web browser that they try to force on you. I don't ask for it, it's a web browser. I did not ask for news on my web browser. I think that should be illegal to force like news down people's throat. It's like a form of advertising. My ad blocker doesn't block it out. That's like really annoying. Yes, why is it there? Why do I need to know this? It's just such bullshit that's on there 90% of the time. It's so like why do you want to force down my throat that some person who has just a following has had a conversation with someone else where it's like this person said that my ass is too big, and you're just sitting there. I don't even care about this person. Why did you feel like I had to know? Why that? Or just it becomes so ridiculous, like how monitored everything is and how people want to know. It's like I wouldn't be surprised if there's like news articles going to be coming out soon about when Kim Kardashian wiped her ass last night, and how she uses this new baby wipe, and it's like, shut up. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. Why do you think that is newsworthy? Like probably because otherwise they would be getting, well, I don't know, would you? It's like, why do, oh, there's a lot of annoying stuff. The Joe Rogan Experience. I currently don't feel inclined to watch the... There's not much anymore to watch, I feel. There's not much anymore that I can there's, of course, there's an infinite amount of things that I can explore and watch. But how? I think the main thing is like the purpose. The purpose behind it is, I have a purpose. I'm creating all these things, but I feel like there's always like a purpose lacking in some way. Like I accumulate knowledge and things that I then recombine, but there's not like this one thing that I'm pointing towards and then I'm like going straight ahead at, and that people can follow me on. And but then again, I don't like that, because it's so dangerous and it's so full of obstacles, and my god, it must be annoying to be one of those people. Especially if you then misjudge things, it's problematic. But you have to learn to live with ambiguity, because life is ambiguity. Everything is so ambiguous and everything is so complicated that there's really no end to it, and it just keeps going and going and going and going in the next moment, or in the next moment. And then like I do believe you should go into like be into self-development and develop yourself and this and that, and you focus yourself. But on the other hand, you're going to be doing you'd have to have a certain personality, I believe, if you wouldn't be doing that anyway, because like you're always, no matter what, you're soaking in information about your environment wherever you are, and you're always learning no matter what you do. It is you do, like man, I know so many languages, and I'm doing a bunch of math and art and creating so many things. I can't imagine. It has to be that other people are doing just the same, so many of the same things, right? Like who isn't doing that or something? I see people who aren't doing that. They're like, what do they do really? Like what is it that they do? It's a question that I have. I think like cognitively you have to be a certain type of person to do a certain type of job and be able to or not be able to do anything else. And that would be such a great privilege actually, to just think about like having half a decent job at a fairly decent price. What do you have to complain about? Nothing, right? It's like you just go into your job, and then the problem becomes, because you're then in that job, then certain minor things start to bother you, and then you get upset, and then there's so many menial things. I think there's like so many things that come from evolution and parts of who we are, that it is evolutionary maladaptive for the circumstances that we are in. And there's also this thing that I've noticed, like I have all these ideas, I think a lot of ideas up, and then you start to think like you have this knowledge and it's building, and you start to think that just you want to, I'm losing my thoughts here, but like there has to be, what's next? Like what brings what, and how does, like there's not so many people, and there's only so much that can be done, and things are finite, and you know, you cannot have all the ideas in the world. But if it's impossible to do because of limited constraints, then it's so like thoughts are unlimited, an unlimited resource. But the physical world is finite. But is the physical world finite? If energy and mass are correlated, and is it that the universe is just energy, like the holographic principle, like that it's a holograph, and that is like an entire just that energy, that a particle is just a ball of energy then, or like that energy in some way or a form is just mass, it's like just a geometry that then, and then we perceive it for what it is because of purely geometrical reasons, and then everything is just a whole subset of oh my god, it's like, Which again becomes something so difficult to explain to the average person, like that you'd have just lines everywhere, and then because of it becomes so complex. It becomes so complex, and to what level do you need to know it? I'm going to, it's been an hour, so I'm going to cut here for now. Maybe do the next one already.